If you procrastinate on important things, find small mistakes really overwhelming, or can't relax when things are even going well, then this video is for you. Hi, I'm Dr. Jessica Vartanian, licensed marriage and family therapist, and I help high achievers find their worth outside of achievements. Today I'll be answering 4 questions that help us understand the reason for these patterns and what we can start to do differently. So let's dive right in. So our first question for today is, why do I procrastinate on things that are important to me? So a couple of different reasons for that. So again, these videos are very generalized. I can't speak for everyone's experience and what you might be going through specifically, right, of course. But if we're talking in the realm of high achievement and expectations of perfectionism or perfectionist traits, then the answer to this question lies in perfectionism, or aspects of it rather. So one aspect of perfectionism tends to be a fear of failure. So what this means is my worth is tied to what I'm doing, or my identity is tied to something, what I'm doing, like achievement-based or outcome-based. And that type of connection between the two, like our worth being tied to this outcome, carries a lot of weight, right? So naturally, if that's how perfectionism is making us think about ourselves and the things that we're doing, that carries a lot of pressure then to achieve and succeed. And with that kind of pressure and expectation and high standards, that it's going to make sense that the task is going to feel very overwhelming, more than we can handle. And when we have that kind of discomfort, then naturally, with anything as humans, when we want to avoid pain, we're just going to put it off as much as possible. So that tends to be one reason. So another reason could be because it's something that matters to us and we want it to go perfectly in a healthy sense, right? Maybe something is very, very meaningful, like we want to get into a great college or university and we have to work on our applications, right? I can understand that tension and stress. Like, I want this to work out. I have this goal and this dream to be at, X, Y, and Z university. So even in that kind of sense of like healthy perfectionism, right? Because we have this goal in mind and this dream in place, then it makes sense that that kind of discomfort is also going to make it really hard for us to, prioritize or make time for that, because what if the mental thought is like, what if it doesn't go well, right? So that kind of thinking, like when we want something really badly to happen and anxiety kind of creeps in, or worry kind of creeps in of what if it doesn't work out, that way of thinking can also play a role in procrastination, or reason for procrastinating on things that matter to us. Okay, so what might help with the first one, especially if we're tying our worth to the outcome, well, first and foremost, we want to detach that connection that we made, right? Our worth is not tied to any type of achievement or success or accomplishment. Your worth is enough as you are, right? Again, you don't have to do anything extraordinary or special to be worthy. You are enough as you are, okay? And for the second piece, again, naturally, when there's something that we really, really want badly to happen and we're nervous about it, anxious about it, just taking a moment to even acknowledge, hey, this is something that matters to me, and it's natural and it's okay for me to be nervous about this. And yes, this does feel like high pressure or high stake because it matters to me, and that's okay, right? So when we name, there's an expression in the field of psychology or mental health, like when we name the feeling, we're normalizing it and we're taking away the strength and the kind of like power it has over us, right? So the shortened version of it, you might hear it somewhere, it's called name it to tame it. So when we name the feeling, we have better control over the feeling and taming it and bringing it down to a place that feels more comfortable and less overwhelming. Okay, so that's the first question. The second one is, why do small mistakes feel emotionally overwhelming? Great question. I did answer something similar in a different video, but again, a couple of different reasons for this as well. So one, again, could be because that question of like, when it matters something to us, right? If something, it means a lot to us and we really want it to work out and work out well, then again, there's that high pressure, high stake kind of feeling that makes any kind of small mistakes feel really overwhelming, right? And another reason might be a little deeper and based on past experiences, growing up in childhood or early life, is how do other people surrounding us respond to our mistakes, right? So when we're thinking in school, like extracurricular activities, or in our household with our caregivers, right? How did these older adults around us respond to us when we were making mistakes? And what was the lesson or meaning we made out of making mistakes? Was the message like mistakes are unacceptable or unforgivable and permissible, right? So if we develop that kind of thought process about mistakes, that's going to make the small mistakes now feel really, really overwhelming, because that's kind of like if you're an adult watching this now, right, that's like a lifetime of carrying this kind of belief about mistakes, and maybe again having our worth attached to it, right? So again, a lot of heavy weight around it. So ways to detach it, again, normalizing that this thing matters to me and it makes sense that I feel nervous or anxious about this working out, right? And then the other piece is normalizing, accepting that mistakes are a part of life, it's a part of learning, it's a part of growing and growth. Okay. So our next question, why can't I enjoy my accomplishments for very long? Great question, and very related to that perfectionism and high achiever experience, right? So when you have a lot of experience is with success and accomplishments, it's maybe short term when we realize like this burst of happiness and joy, like, oh, I had this goal and I met it, and that feels great, right? But you might notice it's not lasting very long because the mind is already focusing on the next thing. So part of perfectionism, it's a lot of high standards and expectations, which is I need to constantly be achieving to feel enough, right? So once you meet an accomplishment, but if your mindset and the goals are attached to like, I need to meet these goals to feel good about myself, and unless I do that, I won't feel good about myself, that's going to make it really hard to see the value in what we're doing and what we already accomplished, because we're putting this kind of numerical value to it, or quantifiable value to what we're accomplishing, because it's attached to our worth, if that makes sense. And worth is inherent, it's unconditional, but suddenly we're putting this condition over it, right? So that kind of like connection that's being made, which doesn't make sense, right? Like where our worth should not be tied to this external, but it is being tied to this external, can be a reason why it's hard to enjoy the accomplishments for very long. Okay, so another reason is because along those lines is the focus is on the next goal, right? There might have been some messages growing up of your accomplishments maybe not being enough, because hey, so and so did this thing, like why couldn't you? Or oh, great that you did that, but you didn't do this part, right? So there's always some sort of like messaging, either from society or family, or again school, being compared to peers, to other people in the family, or something along those lines, where it's giving this message growing up that what I'm doing is never enough or never good enough, because there's always more to be done, there's always better to be done. Again, this is just kind of universal. This is not, if this is resonating with you, I hope you know this is not just your experience. I would say this is very much a universal experience and very common one. So in those instances, like that's reasons why our accomplishments kind of feel short term, is because we're used to that kind of messaging, like it's not enough, there's always more and better to be done or achieved. Okay, so what we can start to do, to kind of break through those patterns is first acknowledging that our worth is not attached to these, right? Once we realize and learn and start to practice reminding ourselves like, hey, I am enough as I am, or who I am is enough, despite my accomplishments, despite my failures, even if we're sometimes tying our worth, our identity to that as well, then we're breaking through those patterns and understanding that, yeah, we can feel good about ourselves regardless of what we're doing, because otherwise it's constantly going to feel like it's never enough, right? And another strategy to overcome it too is understanding that realistically, yeah, there probably is going to be something better or bigger than what we're doing. And that's just the natural way of things in life, right? But it shouldn't take away. I think we have to practice like not allowing that reality to take away from what you already did do. Like what you did is probably through huge strides, and it is an accomplishment. It is something to be proud of. And again, just because on this other, parallel universe, there might have been a better and a bigger version of it, does not and should not take away from what you already did accomplish. Okay, so please remind yourselves of that again, if bigger and better exists, it does not take away the value of what you already did and accomplished. Okay, so our last question for today, why do I feel anxious even when everything is going well? I think that's a very solid ending to our video today, and I think it ties really well with our question above it or before it, which was, why can't I enjoy my accomplishments for very long, right? So if there's this constant expectation to be doing more and what I'm doing is not enough, then it makes sense that even when we do things well or things in life are going well for us, and there's this feeling it's never enough, then we're going to feel anxious, right? Like as if we were supposed to be doing more and achieving more. So that's one reason. And another one, again, can be tied to just those messaging, growing up and that upbringing, which is like if you are just kind of enjoying things as is, you might have been told that's the wrong thing to do. Like kind of like, why are you resting, right? Like you should be doing more and producing more. So when even things are calm around us and things feel enough in some ways, and it wasn't for someone else, then that makes us feel like, oh, I need to be doing more and achieving more, because there is never enough, right? That goalpost keeps moving, and that kind of situation can make us feel anxious when things are even going well, because the brain is thinking, no, there is supposed to be more I'm doing. I don't know what it is yet. And even that might bring anxiety too. And we're trying to figure out what is it that I'm supposed to be doing more. And that brings some discomfort as well. So some strategies to help with these patterns as well. Again, just to kind of reiterate the importance of detaching our worth to the outcomes. That's a big part of it. And another one is, learning to be proud of ourselves, learning to be okay with what is, like even if things aren't going well, that is just as important as learning how to be okay with when things are going well, right? So being uncomfortable with the unknowns as well, or uncertainties, and there might be the next goal, but not to feel anxious about that either, because that's just natural. There's always going to be more that could be done, but that doesn't mean that makes us less worthy, just because there could be more that could be done. Okay, so those are all our questions for today. I hope this was helpful. If there's anything else I can answer, please feel free to drop it in the comments below, and I can make another video like this. Thank you so much. Take care.